Welcome to the Legal Aspects of Dentistry, a podcast where dentistry and the law intersect, hosted by Olivia Wann. So grab your coffee, settle in, and join us as we discuss the legal side of dentistry, because a well-run practice isn't just about clinical excellence, it's also about smart legal protection.
Welcome to the Legal Aspects of Dentistry. My name is Olivia Wann, and joining me today is Sky Eagle. Sky is one of our new compliance trainers, and he's anxious to share with you knowledge and education from his career and as he continues to work with dental offices today. In this episode, we're talking about why every dental practice needs an artificial intelligence policy. Granted, AI is rapidly transforming the healthcare landscape. If you've not heard about AI, that would be highly unusual. It's available at our fingertips. And dental professionals are increasingly using AI-powered tools to assist them with administrative tasks, patient communications, clinical documentation, treatment planning, marketing, and overall operational efficiency. And while these technologies offer us significant benefits, they also introduce new privacy and security compliance challenges and also ethical risk that many dental practices have not addressed or maybe thought of. It's true that AI accelerates our workload. Personally, I love it. I love using AI in my law practice. It saves me so much time, especially with note taking. Now, in the dental world, we find that many dental team members are using these powerful AI tools through their web browser, their mobile application, and software integrations. But a misconception is that entering into an IA platform is no different than an internet search, and that is not the case. In many of these processes, the AI stores the information, retains it, and that could present significant risk as it relates to federal law, and that is HIPAA compliance. And so an unauthorized disclosure could trigger a HIPAA violation and breach notification, really could erode the trust that you are building with your patients. So Sky and I wanted to talk about this topic a little bit and try to flush out some really important points for you to think about with your dental practices. So Sky, let's talk about what is the objective of even giving thought to protected health information, PHI? What are some of the considerations that we should make in using these different AI tools?
All right, so the primary objective, the cornerstone of any AI policy should be the protection of protected health information and the electronic protected health information. So the primary objective is straightforward. So to prevent the unauthorized storage, retention, disclosure, transmission, or use of PHI or EPHI through artificial intelligence platforms. So dental practices must recognize that AI vendors may collect, store, log, analyze, or use submitted information unless contractual and technical safeguards specifically prohibit those activities. Even information that appears harmless may contain identifiers capable of linking data back to an individual patient. An effective AI policy should prohibit workforce members from entering PHI into any platform unless the platform has been formally approved and appropriate safeguards are in place. So you don't want any employees being able to use their personal devices and putting in, information into those.
Mm-hmm.
So why HIPAA compliance matters. So HIPAA's privacy rule, security rule, and breach notification rule apply regardless of whether information is shared with a traditional software vendor or an AI platform. Before dental practice allows PHI to be entered into AI system, it must be determined. So whether the AI vendor creates, receives, maintains, or transmits PHI on behalf of the practice, whether a business associate agreement is required, whether the vendor provides adequate administrative, technical, and physical safeguards, whether information submitted to the AI platform is retained or used for model training, whether the vendor can demonstrate compliance with recognized security frameworks.
So it sounds like, Sky, that they really need to vet those AI vendors before they start using them. And like you mentioned, it's so easy to just jump onto an AI tool and just start using it because we're under time constraints. But if I'm understanding you correctly, there's a lot more involved in vetting an AI platform than just knowing how to use it.
Right, and that could be doing your own research and looking into the fine print of what that AI platform's policies are. So, the importance of approved AI tools, a well designed AI policy should establish a formal approval process for AI technologies. Rather than allowing employees to independently choose AI applications, practices should require a structured review process that includes vendor due diligence, privacy and security assessments, data flow analysis, cybersecurity reviews, legal review of contractual terms, evaluation of retention and training practices, business associate agreement, execution when required. So, under that approach, all AI tools are considered prohibited unless they have been specifically approved by the practices, privacy officer, security officer, or compliance officer. So this default prohibition model significantly reduces the likelihood of unauthorized disclosures.
So good point. So this is a good opportunity to talk about Modern Practice Solutions has developed an AI policy that we are rolling out for our HIPAA compliance clients. And if you are subscribing to our Guardian plan, then at your next update, you will receive this AI policy and the record keeping log. So what Sky was mentioning is that, rather than you just randomly using an AI platform, we have to have a process to select these AI platforms and inquire, are they keeping up to date with their physical and security assessments? So we've designed this policy that will allow the person who's making these management decisions, maybe it's the office manager, maybe it's the HIPAA compliance officer, who vets out these platforms and details for the practice which AI platforms are in use and they're authorized for use versus the AI platforms that are prohibited. And there's also a column on here to indicate whether or not a business associate agreement has been obtained. So just like with the other programs that you're using that involves the transfer of electronic protected health information, we have to make sure that the vendor has entered into this agreement, and we need to know whether they're staying current with their training and security risk assessments. So one of the most important things that we've built into this AI policy for your practice is requiring that your vendors are giving us that assurance, because if they have patient information, then they should not be using that information to train their AI models. And so if you look at some open source AI, when you feed information to it, you are training that AI platform and enhancing that information base that it has. So for example, I use a program called Plaud, Plaud, in my law practice. And so through the company that provides the tool, I wanted the assurance that this information is not stored without authorization. So when my relationship concludes with Plaud, they cannot keep my consultation notes. That property does not belong to Plaud. It does not belong to their training platform to increase their AI's skill set, but rather it belongs to me, and it has to be de-identified on the conclusion of that relationship. So that's one of the things that we want to do when we're vetting out a program, that the PHI is not stored beyond the time necessary to generate the output, and that the user prompts and outputs are not training their databases, and they're training their models, and it's not shared with third parties or affiliates, and that there's technical controls to enforce these protections. And then, even if you're using AI for legitimate purposes, then we need to remove some identifiers. For example, if I use AI in my law practice to draft a petition, I usually don't enter the parties' names. Now, the AI tool that I use is limited to the statutes, it's limited to case law. It is not like an open source thing. But if I'm using it to assist me in writing a petition, I don't include the party's name. So likewise, before information is shared on an AI platform, your dental team member should remove identifiers. So maybe it's helping you word a sentence for clinical notes. It would not contain the patient's name or identifiable information. So basically, what you're looking for from the HIPAA perspective is using the minimum necessary information. That's the minimum necessary standard that we should always apply in our day-to-day practices. What is the minimum information to operate? And then that ability to de-identify, which is a critical risk reduction strategy in using these AI, because we don't want to train their functions. We want to use it to improve our workflow, but once again, guarding that information is critical. So Sky, what about, you and I were talking about the training component. Why is this workforce education so essential in dental practices?
Olivia, so the technology policies are only effective if employees understand them. Every dental practice should provide training that explains what constitutes an AI platform, which AI tools are approved, which tools are prohibited, how to identify PHI, proper de-identification techniques, incident reporting requirements, the consequences of policy violations, and many AI related incidents occur not because of malicious intent, but because employees are unaware that a seemingly simple prompt may contain protected information. So regular training can significantly reduce these risks within the practice.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with that being said, human judgment cannot be replaced. Much like everybody using chat nowadays, it likes to really take note of the user and pick up on things that you want, and you can kind of cater to that. So it's going to try to cater to the user the best it can, but it's sometimes the user makes mistakes. So if it caters to that user and that user makes mistakes, AI then can turn and make mistakes. So I personally use AI as a tool for different review and in my personal life too, even creating recipes. And I make a recipe, and that recipe might have something in it that I don't agree with, or the measurements could be wrong. So I have to find what ingredients work for me. And just like these practices, they need to figure out what ingredients work for them at getting the communications across to their practices and their people.
So, for example, and to kind of spin off what you're talking about, there's AI tools that can scan the radiograph. And this is so helpful because it's almost like having a second opinion to look at that X-ray. However, it could never replace the dentist's diagnosis. So even though these systems can be very accurate and validate your diagnosis, you still have to make the diagnosis. And even in the legal field, I looked at a response that a lawyer drafted, and I looked up the case law that he quoted, and I did not feel that those cases corresponded with the topic and the law, the case at hand. So AI can definitely skew it and cause us to make a mistake and an error in judgment. And I think that's the point, Sky, is that the policy that you need to incorporate into your dental practice shows and reinforces that artificial intelligence is a tool. It is not a substitute for professional expertise. And so people may think that they could use these AI tools and they don't even need to go to the dental office. They can find out what's wrong with them. Or just like cases that I have coming in, they want to run things through AI and write their own petitions for court, and it might be totally off base. So we see the need to use these valuable tools. It will really enhance your dental practice and your overall efficiency, but there's definitely a need to recognize that, what if there's a security incident and there is a breach, or there needs to be ongoing monitoring. So just like with your HIPAA policies, if there is an unauthorized disclosure, then the practice has to report the incident and conduct an investigation and assess whether or not a breach occurred, document all that information, and implement corrective action, and complete breach notification if required. So, Sky, think about the patients in a dental practice. How do we preserve patient trust if they see dental personnel using AI? Maybe it's the Pearl and some of the many other wonderful programs that are available. How do we build patient trust in the age of artificial intelligence?
Trust is essential in any relationship, and business, especially. So perhaps the most important reason to adopt an AI policy is preserving patient trust. Patients expect dental practices to safeguard their personal health information with the same diligence applied to clinical care. As artificial intelligence becomes more prevalent throughout healthcare, patients will increasingly ask how their information is being protected. And a comprehensive AI policy demonstrates that the practice has thoughtfully evaluated the benefits and risks of AI technologies and has implemented safeguards to protect patient privacy, maintain regulatory compliance, and support ethical use of emerging technologies.
Good point. So we definitely want patients to know we use it to the better of our practice. And I think it's a good idea. I know I'm talking about HIPAA compliance as it relates to AI, but in your HR policies, I would suggest that you go ahead and add at least a paragraph for right now until you have time to maybe add more content, that all artificial intelligence tools, including imaging systems, radiographic analysis software, documentation assistants, virtual receptionists, chat bots, patient communication platforms, meeting assistants, and other applications should be considered prohibited unless formally reviewed and approved by the practice's privacy or security officer, whatever their title is. And that approval should include the vendor due diligence, just like I demonstrated on this sheet of paper, where we list the prohibited AI versus the authorized AI tools, and we are vetting out those platforms. And if we're entering protected health information, we have to have a signed business associate agreement in place. And so this needs to be in your HR policies as soon as possible. And when we look at the overall scheme of this, I mean, AI presents exciting opportunities for dental practices. But in reality, it does create new compliance and cybersecurity challenges. This is what has Sky and I concerned about dental practices. So clearly, we have to incorporate an artificial intelligence use policy in order to provide a structured framework on how to use these tools, that we're not just randomly using, especially consumer geared AI tools, because we want to prevent an unauthorized disclosure of patient information or unauthorized storage of that information, and also outline the responsibilities of our dental teams in order to safeguard the information. And as these AI tools continue to evolve, that dental practices are proactive. They are proactive in establishing these policies so that you're in a better position to be in compliance with HIPAA. So even the policy that we put together this last week It will continue to evolve and it will continue to change as we continue to align ourselves with HIPAA compliance and best cybersecurity for good cybersecurity hygiene. So we want to encourage you, as a recap, to obtain your artificial intelligence use policy to put inside of your HIPAA compliance policies, as well as the artificial intelligence record keeping log to show which platforms are authorized. We also are updating the training slides for our HIPAA program. We'll probably release the AI slides separately as well, so that you don't have to wait until the last quarter or the first of the year to get this updated information. And we so appreciate you tuning in to the legal aspects of dentistry. We are trying to keep you up to date and current as possible. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.